Let's hear a word from today's sponsor, HelloFresh.
That's right, this video is sponsored by HelloFresh. Folks, my wife and I have been eating HelloFresh every week for like 5 years now, and I seriously cannot recommend it enough. HelloFresh does all the shopping and meal planning for you. Ingredients arrive at your doorstep pre-portioned and ready to cook, along with pictured step-by-step recipe cards. How easy is that?
I was present the day one of my fellow co-workers got her foot crushed by a 300-pound pallet. And I remember seeing the pain in her eyes.
I want HelloFresh customers to know that everything that they're getting at their doors, like these boxes, we are the workers that make this possible, and we haven't been treated fairly.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
They're saying thank you to everyone, and then they know a lot of people are going through bad stuff, which is why they're getting 6 months of free therapy to those affected by the war in Israel from BetterHelp. That's right, BetterHelp. Israel declared war, and then they declared a collab with BetterHelp.
YouTuber sponsorships are something we all know and love. You love taking a couple minutes out of your viewing time to watch us advertise you a product. I've done it here on this channel, and after this video I'm probably never going to do it again because I don't think sponsors are going to be too happy that I'm going to be talking about the ethics of YouTuber sponsorships, and I'm going to be exposing my own dealings with sponsors and just talking about like my own approach to them, and maybe even talking about some of your favorite creators who promote bad companies, and talk about myself also promoting a bad company by accident because I didn't research enough, showing you how careful you have to be with this stuff, but also, you know, just try not to advertise like explicitly shitty companies or companies that are associated with anything from Israel, which I've tried to do, but I'm going to talk about how sometimes that's hard to even find out in the first place. Sometimes it takes an actual war to find out that this company is Israeli. But what I want to do today is talk about like how content creators often become, I guess without knowing it, like a face of a company. And I'm going to be talking about Kurtis and HelloFresh, because now when I think of HelloFresh, I just think of him because that's where I see it most. And also things like BetterHelp, which have been well documented to be terrible. Also an Israeli company, literally founded by an IDF soldier, and he was the president for like a decade. And despite many YouTubers having their audiences say, like, what are you doing? Like, taking this BetterHelp sponsor, they just keep going with it. And it might not be so bad if you are a content creator who's pretty shameless, but when you purport to have ethics, like Easy Allies, one of my favorite gaming like review outlets, or someone like David Pacman, but you still take like every single sponsorship, it shows you don't really care about your ethics. And yes, having ethics is not going to make you as much money, but I still think it's important if you do have a progressive audience and you do have a left-wing audience. Don't know how much this video really applies to people who don't have any morals, like, you know, finance bros, I don't think are going to be thinking about the ethics of any company they deal with. But yeah, all of that coming up for you today. And if you want to support my work, because I'm probably not getting any sponsors anytime soon because of this video, consider becoming a patron and get access to the private Discord server. So before we get into Kurtis as like the first case study, I want to talk about myself, but I'm going to save a bit of it for the middle of the video because I want to link that into the boycott of Israeli companies and stuff, which is something, you know, I support. For YouTubers, you have different kinds of business models of like how to make money. So you guys will be familiar with BreadTube, where they make like one video a year, but they tend to have pretty massive Patreon followings if you think about someone like H-Bomber Guy. So his videos aren't sponsored, but then you might have someone who uploads maybe like between 5 and maybe 12 video essays a year, and those videos will normally be sponsored and they'll have a Patreon following as well. Or you'll just have maybe like a more content farmy thing which has a sponsor on every single video, maybe something like the John Campea show, which has like a long podcast kind of live segment and then breaks it up into smaller videos, and every small video which is like 8 minutes, has like a 1 minute sponsor in it, right? And then you have maybe people like me who make most of their money on YouTube ad revenue, some of it on Patreon as well, and occasionally, like very, very rarely, I've had a few sponsored videos. And before we get any further, I'm not cancelling anyone for having sponsored content. Like, we do need to survive in capitalism, we do need money, and personally, I don't object to everything, right? To me, it's mainly like, is this company known for being shitty? Like, if I type this company in on Google, is the first couple things we're going to read about this company being terrible? And I think that is kind of like the bar, especially if you are like a more left-wing creator. And another thing that I think you should do, but I don't think most people do, I think you should like the thing you're advertising. So the 3 sponsorships I've had, or 4, I've had a VPN sponsorship. I use VPNs, even though a lot of VPN companies aren't great. Like, you know, it has utility. I had kind of like an Audible competitor, which would like do short summaries of books, which I did like that. Like, I always tell them to send me the product first and I'll test it before I decide if I'll do it. And then I had something called Ground News as well, which I actually still use, but it's like a news aggregator where you can compare the political biases of different sources. I would say whoever's rated these political biases is not 100% accurate, but I genuinely like that app and I still use it because I can just like scroll through the different coverage of various stories. But I personally hate doing sponsorships as well. Like, I feel gross doing them. And I think this is something brands need to catch on to more. Because if you pay me and I like the product, I don't really have much of a problem with being sponsored by that if I know your company isn't total garbage, right? But the problem is, what I say is so controlled by you. So if I wanted to do my own advert for a lot of the products I just mentioned, I would describe it in such a different way in like the value I take from it, which I think is such a better promotion because I'm telling you why I actually like it, not the reasons you're telling me to tell people they should like it. And it's something I need to do better because then for me, I don't like doing it because it feels inauthentic and everyone knows I'm just saying this stuff for money. And then also my audience might not be as interested in the product anyway because they know that, right? They know it's corporate speak. So I feel like brands need to catch on with that a bit more and just let creators like genuinely make something that is appealing if they like the product itself. And like I said, I only do products that I've either used and they're good or I actually like it, right? But I'm pretty much done with sponsors in that way because I feel like it's just selling out and selling your soul. And a lot of you guys will say like, we don't mind. We don't think anything less of you. But to me personally, I just hate it. I hate being in contact with like PR people. I hate them dictating what I say. I hate the feedback. I hate just having anyone enter my space, which I run all on my own, and telling me what to do. And also another problem, like pay the people properly. Like, stop arguing about pay. If I say it's £1,000 for a 1 minute ad, don't start lowballing me for crap pay. Like, the first sponsor I did, I only had like 25,000 subscribers. They paid me £500 for like a 3 minute ad. But if you're coming back a couple years later and offering me the same rate when I have like over 100,000, like, it's just insulting. And another company, like, I took it because I was a bit desperate for money, like last year in January. It was only like £350. And I'm like, come on, that is not acceptable. Like, if you're going to get people to get on board with these sponsorships, you got to pay them right, especially because I know other people who do sponsorships who get paid so much more. So generally, I hate the ethics of this stuff. And I think I won't be doing any more sponsorships unless I really like the product. And I was actually thinking about this because I saw this on Instagram because I follow them. So I have this thing called the Nitro Deck. It's like a shell for the Switch, which is meant to be kind of like a Steam Deck. And it's probably one of the best things I've ever bought. I'm not even joking. Like, it cost me like £60. And I play Switch handheld so much more because of this, because I like the form factor so much, right? And I was thinking, I was like, if they sponsored me, would I take that? And I'd be like, yeah, I'd be happy to be sponsored by something like this because I like the product, I've used the product, I think it's a good product, I think you should get the product, and as far as I know, it's a pretty small company and it doesn't seem super shady, right? So when you have all of that together, I don't really think there's much wrong with it because at least you know there is passion from the person you're listening to get that product itself, and the company is okay from what I've seen, right? And like I said, I understand a lot of creators need that sponsor money, and that's totally fine. But then let's get into this a bit more. When it's like some small independent company, it's some like smaller company, smaller brand, I think the ethics aren't as like murky. But something like HelloFresh, which I remember this from a couple years ago, which have had lots of problems with union busting and treating their employees like garbage, I think there should be a lot more scrutiny on that. So Kurtis Connor is a YouTuber I really like watch all of his new videos, super like him, but because I have watched so many of his videos, I have obviously seen him be sponsored by HelloFresh loads and loads of times. And I just wanted to check when he first had it. So I don't know if this is completely accurate, but this is one of the first. So he was first sponsored on them, I believe, on the 8th of January 2021. And his latest sponsor with them was the 27th of October 2023. So it's obviously like a really, really long partnership with him and HelloFresh. I picked Kurtis because he's obviously like a super famous YouTuber, right? Comedian, YouTuber, has his own podcast, but also because he is generally in like left-wing circles. Like you see him pop up with people like Hassan, and if you actually pay attention to the stuff he says, politically, I guess, it is clear he is left-wing in some capacity, and he's made videos about like treating workers better, right? In terms of, I think it was like about TikToks where you just annoy workers. I've heard him talk about that.
Ever since this quarantine started, my admiration and respect for, you know, service workers, people in the service industry, like, you know, grocery stores, fast food places, my respect for them has gone up by like 1 million. I mean, I don't know what the number of respect I was at before, but I know that it went up by exactly 1 million. So yeah, if you are watching this and you do work at a grocery store, fast food place like that, thank you. We respect you, we love you, and we'd literally die without you, so thank you. And I hope this increased admiration is the case for everybody, because before the quarantine, people did not respect service workers like at all. Like flipping burgers or like stocking shelves was always used as like an insult towards someone, which never really made sense to me. I never, like, this hatred and superiority towards people in the service industry has always been a thing, and I've experienced it firsthand. I used to flip burgers and stock shelves. But no, I used to work at McDonald's. I also worked at a Canadian grocery store chain, and I also worked at a bar in Toronto. And at every single one of those jobs, customers treated me like dog shit. We should be extra patient and kind to essential workers, because if they're essential, like, they're putting themselves in danger so you can have your spicy Southwest salad. So just be nice to essential workers. HelloFresh makes cooking at home fun, easy, and affordable. No grocery stores, no meal planning, just everything you need to prepare delicious meals, all delivered right to your door.
But in late 2021, so, you know, nearly a year after he took the first sponsorship, it came out that HelloFresh treat their employees like absolute trash. Now, I have a video from More Perfect Union, which I want to show you some of it because it has actual testimony from people who work for HelloFresh, but this was back in November 2021. HelloFresh employees aim to unionize and claims of abuse. And I'll show you some of them talking about this, but Alec Woodward, a shipping department worker at the Richmond facility, explained how HelloFresh has responded to the union organizing campaign over the past several weeks, which has included hiring union avoidance consultants who have held several captive audience meetings with workers in an attempt to dissuade workers from voting for the union. They outright said you might lose money by doing this in the first meeting. An exec said that they are proud the facility had the largest number of COVID-19 cases in Contra Costa County because that demonstrated the success of their COVID testing program. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. He said consultants and management have tried to characterize a union as a business, comparing union organizers to sales representatives who will trick workers into joining a union. So I'm just going to play you a little bit of the video so you can listen in to people actually talking about why they want to make a union and how HelloFresh treats them so bad.
HelloFresh workers are organized in a union because we feel we deserve better wages. We don't feel like we're provided a safe and organized work environment to conduct our daily assignments, and we don't feel like we get the dignity and respect that we deserve.
My biggest safety concern at work is that there are so many things on the floor. It can be also water, empty pallets with plastic on, and sticks sticking out of the pallet, which makes it very dangerous for everybody, and it's not a safe place to be working in. We
put ourselves in harm's way for the company, and whenever we do sustain injuries, they remove accountability and place it directly on the employees and the associates. They'll go into the bathroom or into the break room to kind of, you know, look for people, or I guess encourage people to hurry back and get back to the production area. But, you know, if you got to use the bathroom, you got to use the bathroom.
Working for HelloFresh is like you either get a second job or you don't you won't have enough by the end of the month.
A lot of workers that work at HelloFresh have to have 2 jobs just in order to make ends meet, to pay rent, and to put food on the table. A lot of the workers that work at HelloFresh can't even afford a box of HelloFresh. They can't afford the box that they make.
Workers want a union because the pay is so damn low.
So it's clear the union movement wasn't just about wages, which is totally fair enough anyway. It was actually about employee safety, because lots of people getting injured working for HelloFresh. So it's a double thing. It's these people need better safety regulations, which their company aren't going to cut costs to give them, and they're being paid like garbage for this. And then you become, you know, the face of HelloFresh kind of for someone like me, because when I think of HelloFresh, I think of Kurtis Connor. And even back in Germany, where the company is from, they're also union busting as well. So DW spoke with 2 HelloFresh employees in Berlin who were in favour of starting a works council. Both employees remained anonymous. They cited a lack of transparency in the workplace, a lack of open communication channels between employees, and management and pay gaps between genders and nationalities as their primary reasons for wanting to start a works council. For me, it's kind of a given that any large company in Berlin would have to have a works council. To be honest, I didn't expect that this would create a conflict. Franziska Fulong, union secretary at Verdi, supports the workers' efforts to form a council, telling DW that HelloFresh was particularly good at union busting. Not even Amazon is that bad. The majority of HelloFresh workers in Berlin are immigrants, and many of them have work visas that depend on their jobs. So yeah, all round, HelloFresh seems like a really, really shitty company, right? If you're having people describe it worse than Amazon, you know it's bad. If you're looking at the power imbalance of a lot of these workers in Berlin being immigrants who have to have the job to stay in Berlin and Germany, and they're scared about unionizing because they might get fired, then yes, we have a problem here. And Kurtis Connor is someone who has talked about respecting workers, talking about, you know, how he used to work in, I think, a coffee shop or Starbucks or something, and he spoke about this. So there you have a YouTuber who probably has made a lot of money on his YouTube videos anyway, maybe from ads and definitely from sponsorships, and he's still sponsored by a company where if you type into Google and type in controversy, this comes up and it's well documented. They union bust and they treat their employees like shit, and Kurtis Connor is the face of HelloFresh to someone like me, and he's helped them over the years spread their brand to a lot of his fans who, in theory, you'd feel like, because Kurtis gives off a left-wing vibe, they would be pretty mortified at the stuff HelloFresh are doing. And maybe if they knew about it a bit more, maybe they'd say, like, you know, do you have to take the sponsorship? Kurtis actually does a lot of sponsorships as well. He doesn't just do HelloFresh. HelloFresh has just been his most consistent one, I believe. So yeah, he could totally just not do that. But then you have to ask yourselves, would he do that? And he probably would if he was confronted by maybe a bigger YouTuber. Let's say this video blew up or something, got like 1 million views. He'd kind of have to. I don't really know, to be honest. Like, are you so unaware that you don't know that HelloFresh is involved in this stuff despite you promoting them all the time? Maybe he is totally oblivious. I don't know what this guy consumes politically in terms of news. I don't know the people he talks to. Maybe he is completely oblivious. But again, now he has become sort of like a mascot for HelloFresh. And there's loads of people just like him for other companies that now you associate these sponsorships with a certain YouTuber. So even though they're just paying him like a certain rate for the video or whatever, it is good for them because now it's like, oh look, Kurtis Connor sponsors our company. Kurtis Connor, nice and, you know, young, progressive guy. If HelloFresh was bad, he'd hate it, wouldn't he? Not trying to cancel Kurtis or anything, but at the same time, do I think he should be sponsored by HelloFresh? No. Do I think he should drop them himself? Yeah. Would that cost him money? Yeah. Should he still do it? Yes, of course. There are YouTubers who are a lot smaller, who need the money more, who don't take these sponsorships than someone like Kurtis, who seems to be doing pretty good for himself, right? So anyway, on that, I'm going to leave Kurtis behind and move on a tiny bit to talk about myself a bit more. So I want to talk about how important it is to research companies properly. So my last sponsor was a VPN called Private Internet Access. So basically how this works is there's like a middleman, like some sort of agency. My one was like in Argentina, and they worked with me on the last sponsorship I did for something called Blinkist, the book thing. So I don't actually have direct contact with the company itself. It's an agency that probably takes a cut of the sponsorship or whatever. Not really sure exactly how it works. So, you know, they send me over a link to private internet access. I use it. Pretty good VPN, way more simple than a lot of others I've used. I was curious, so I looked into it. I looked at like who owns it. It says it was acquired by Cape Technologies in 2019. So I go on that profile on Wikipedia, and it says it's a United Kingdom-based cybersecurity company that owns other VPN things like CyberGhost, ZenMate, ExpressVPN. So on that research, I'm thinking, you know, VPN companies aren't great. I remember there was one that like might have been putting malware on people's computers or using it for like cryptocurrency. So I was just checking like, is private internet access like a good VPN? Is it shady? Most people said it, you know, it's fine. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then I agreed the rate. The rate was something like £1,000 for 2 videos. And I'm thinking, you know, that's pretty good. Not the best thing ever, but I haven't had a sponsorship in a while. So, yeah, the product's fine. I've been using it, whatever. So I put the first video up. It did okay, and it was sponsored. So for the second video, I had to record another advert, which was a bit annoying, so I thought I only had to record one, but I did agree to 2. And then I sent them the new script. This was in October. So I sent them the new script, and they give me this email. Thank you for sending the script. I'll share it with the brand, and I'll give you their feedback as soon as I receive it. Also, I want to let you know that the brand is located in Israel, so due to the current situation, the feedback can take more time. So I was pretty like stunned about this. I was like, there was nothing in my research that suggested that this company is Israeli in any way. I thought it was a British company. So after that, I typed in Israel private internet access. And then there was like an article by Sudayas Asif on HackRead, which was about like a Reddit post about this. So it was like, Israeli firm buys private internet access, raising privacy concerns. So a couple of weeks ago, one of the industry's most famous VPN providers was acquired by Cape Technologies, an Israeli-based firm, as a result of its parent company, LTMI Holdings. Reportedly, $95 million was paid as part of the deal, and this happens to be the third one on the part of Cape, who has acquired CyberGhost and ZenMate. Cape Technologies was originally found under the name Crossrider. So the very first CEO of Crossrider, Kobi Menekemi, happened to be part of Unit 8200, which is an Israeli intelligence unit in their military and has been dubbed the Israeli NSA. Teddy Sagi, one of the company's investors, was mentioned in the Panama Papers, which leaked in 2016. So again, before that guy told me, the guy I was dealing with, it's an Israeli company, I had no idea. Obviously, the fault falls on myself, right? As someone who won't deal with Israeli companies, I should have typed in PIA Israel. If I ever do another sponsorship, that's what I'll do. But because I just typed it in and was like reading various things, just seemed like another tech company I'd never heard of. And I click on the tech company and it says it's British. So I thought it was okay. And for context, like, I've had offers from Raid Shadow Legends. They emailed me this, I think, in 2022, talking about putting like a 90-second video about Raid Shadow Legends, and I just replied to them saying, thanks for reaching out. I don't want to collaborate on this sponsorship due to ethical concerns with the company who make Raid Shadow Legends. I also feel it would be disingenuous to promote a game to my followers that I have no interest in and will never play. So yeah, it's something I generally don't accept when I'm doing sponsorships, but like an idiot, I didn't know PIA was even based in Israel, because when you look at where it's based as well, it says it's based in America, the main office is. So I just replied to this guy, hope all is well, just emailing you to let you know I won't be making a second advert or making a second video partnered with PIA. This is totally on me, but I don't usually work with Israeli companies as a supporter of the BDS movement anyway, but especially due to what the Israeli government is currently doing right now, I should have researched the client better, because if I knew, I wouldn't have accepted it, so that's my bad, it's totally on me. If you're wondering why I sound a bit apologetic, it's only because I'm messing some guy around on the other end, and he's probably like not paid that great. So again, I feel bad personally that I've been messing him about and he might not get paid, because yeah, I didn't get paid for that. So I did one advert, I wrote the script for the second, I didn't get any payment, which is to me perfectly fine because I don't want to accept that money. But again, I could have saved all that hassle and that feeling of even selling out in the first place if I just researched it and was like, oh, it is an Israeli company. I'm not going to do that. So why I highlight that is not to be like, oh, I am so great, look at me refuse the money. It's more you have to be really careful with these sponsorships and actually research them. So like Kurtis Connor, because he's talked about workers' rights, he should research HelloFresh and see, oh, they treat their employees like garbage. Do I want to be the face of that, right? So for me, the Israel one is a big one, which I've refused in the past. And to be consistent, I'm going to have to research things more. And even though that was hard to find, I didn't type in PIA Israel, right? Because nothing in my research that far had indicated it was anything to do with Israel, right? That is obviously like totally my bad. And if I ever do a sponsorship again, I'm going to just do the most intense research ever. And I'm going to go far, far back to find out if it has anything to do with this. Now, people might say like PIA isn't technically on BDS. And yeah, BDS is like a targeted campaign which has lists of companies where you should do different things, from pressure to boycotts. But just generally in the spirit of BDS, I'm just not going to have any dealings with Israeli companies. I don't want to normalize this country as like a normal thing where I should be giving my business to while it's just doing terrible stuff, where, like we've seen with polling recently, 95% of the Zionist Jewish population actually agree with what's going on right now. And it's a democracy as well, and everyone serves in the military. So there's a very high degree of just general civilian and corporate complicity in what's going on, which I don't want to be a part of. So staying on a kind of similar like kind of point, I talked about this before. My favorite gaming YouTube podcast is Easy Allies. It used to be Game Trailers. I watched it for years, nearly 10 years at this point. It must be 10 years. I've watched all these people. Really, really like them, but they've been sponsored by BetterHelp for ages. And people have been calling them out on it for years, and they just completely ignore it. And I get it, right? You have a lot of employees, you got to pay them, but their most recent podcast sponsored by BetterHelp was only a couple weeks ago. And again, this is why I talk about the Israel stuff. So I know for a fact that a lot of these people who work here are left-wing. They always talk about workers' rights. And although I haven't seen them talk too much about Palestine generally, I think one of them has said something about it, right? And I know they would be sympathetic to it if they weren't scared of the audience's reaction because of stuff they said in the past, right? So generally their motto is like love and respect and everything like that. But they're still promoting like a really, really terrible company. There's been so much drama around them because everyone knows it either like sells your data to Facebook or stuff like that. There was an article in the Financial Times last year saying, you know, BetterHelp was founded in 2013. Its revenues rose to $1 billion in 2022, has 400,000 paying members, and the growth has come with controversy. Last year, the Federal Trade Commission ordered BetterHelp to pay $7.8 million in a settlement, saying it shared more than 7 million customers' health information with social media companies like Facebook and Snapchat. So that's bad on its own. Plenty of people have had terrible experiences with BetterHelp, people just saying it's pretty useless as an alternative to therapy. But because mental health services are under such a strain, people turn to it. It's not a great company already. And groups like Easy Allies, who I really, really like and I've watched for so long, they shouldn't be taking sponsorship deals from them, not least because it's both an Israeli company and it partnered with Israel while they're doing what they're doing. So listen to this. Israel tweets, "Thank you to all of the incredible Israeli companies, volunteers and individuals who are coming together to help as many people during this horrific time. At BetterHelp, a company which offers therapy, is providing 6 months of free therapy to those affected by the war in Israel." Because Alan Mattis, who's their founder and president, he did 6 years in the IDF as a software developer, development team leader, and a project lead, led a $5 million project to plan, design, and develop new IT systems for the IDF's telecommunication infrastructure. So yeah, the founder and president until 2023 was an IDF vet who was in the IDF for 6 years. That's not conscription. He either did his conscription and stayed, or he just joined voluntarily and did this. So yeah, that's why BetterHelp is helping Israel and being promoted by the official Israel Twitter account. And that was before Easy Allies having more sponsorships with them. So again, if you preach love and respect as a motto, if you talk about all the good like social justice things, are you really taking sponsorship money, which is essentially blood money, from an ex-IDF veteran who partners with the Israeli government to promote his company and help the Israeli government? That's a sponsorship you want to be the face with. Because in my head, Easy Allies, you're synonymous with BetterHelp. And for lots of people, because BetterHelp is everywhere, your favourite creator or whatever is synonymous with that brand. You want to be the face of that brand. Same with Kurtis and HelloFresh. You want to be the face of that. I know people will get mad at me for this video. I don't think I'm asking for the world here. I'm just saying, you know, we all have to eat, we all have to make rent, we all have to make money. That's fine. There are loads of companies out there who might not be great, but they're just, you know, average. We don't have to be taking sponsorship deals from a company that has been described as worse than Amazon for union busting, and another company which is all around terrible, but also partners with the Israeli government and is run by a former IDF soldier. Am I asking for too much? I don't think I am. And like I said, it's hard sometimes. I've made mistakes. I pointed out my mistake. You have to do good research, and I'll give people a pass to a certain extent, but not when the companies are primarily known for like these bad reputations. I'm not giving you a pass then. But I have a couple examples from recently. People getting called out for their BetterHelp sponsorship. So on YouTube Drama, 2 million sub science YouTuber Kyle Hill criticized for BetterHelp sponsorship, dismisses the critics and defends sponsor in the comments. And the video is called Exposing Science's Biggest Fraud. Someone saying a BetterHelp ad in a video about ethics and fraud is ironic. Him saying, calm down. I'm calm, pick better sponsors. Okay. Then he writes a big long article defending BetterHelp, talking about how they never shared public information on their members, despite the fact they paid a massive fine to the FTC. So absolutely bizarre. Like, if you're a YouTuber who's being called out for your sponsors, maybe just don't even make it worse. Someone else called Bedtime Stories was responding to comments saying, BetterHelp affiliation gets an auto unsub from me no matter who pushes it. Them replying, of course, you're absolutely right. Your reaction to the sponsor of this video wasn't over the top or entitled at all. I hope you understand how much I want to fight to keep your subscription to the channel. I've only just redecorated my living room, and supervising over and watching the drying of the paint on the walls takes precedent over that. Oh, all the best. Someone replying, you're so right. Your reaction to their comment wasn't sarcastic, rude, or entitled at all. Who needs subscribers anyway, or views even? Hell, I think it'd be lovely if you didn't get any at all. Your nasty attitude is making me unsubscribe too, but it's okay because you don't care about us lowly peons, right? Him replying, I can't disagree with you. I shouldn't have any right to respond in any way I see fit to a comment left in these videos. As I said, his reaction was completely justified. You know, I once went to a cinema to watch a film. I didn't like one of the adverts they put on the ad before the film, so I rage quit the cinema and never watched films of that establishment again. It was perfectly reasonable reaction and didn't warrant any mockery at all. One last thing, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I'll clarify for you anyway. This is a YouTube channel, not an airport. Announcements of departures are not necessary. So yeah, this is not the way to react to be getting called out for having a terrible sponsorship, right? Making it seem like this person has absolutely no say in this advert being run, and just acting like it's totally normal to promote terrible companies. But that is the mindset for a lot of people, right? I'll say something like, yeah, can we at least not promote like really visibly terrible companies who've had to pay like millions in fines to the FTC and are working with the Israeli government? Can we not do that? And then can you imagine someone replying like this guy? Like, oh my God, you're so entitled. You're so entitled to having a problem with me. Would you walk out of a movie theatre if there was an advert you didn't like? And this like hostile response to what they're saying, what I'm saying, it just playing as a victim while accepting these gross sponsorships. Like I said, I totally understand with some YouTubers, to make this into a career, you have to do stuff like this. You have to take sponsors. For me, I wouldn't say it's a luxury because I don't make like loads of money, but I'm in a position where I don't have to do this, right? So I can just say no. I can just like do like 95% of the work for a sponsor and then just say, no, I'm not finishing that and I'm not getting paid, because I have that fallback of Patreon and I grind so much the YouTube channel, I make ad revenue to cover, you know, my bills, living expenses, all that stuff. So I understand. But like I said, this video is mainly about don't be sponsored by bad companies which are known for being bad. Just be sponsored by your average company. Again, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, but I think there is ethical promotion in that you wouldn't be sponsored by like Coca-Cola. You wouldn't be sponsored by Raytheon. You wouldn't be sponsored by Lockheed Martin. I mean, some people don't mind doing that who are in the progressive space as well. Or let that one lie for now. You don't have to do this, and I have no sympathy for you. You don't have to take this money. You really don't. Especially when you're famous. Especially when you're a big YouTuber. Kurtis Corner doesn't need that money. And I would even say Easy Allies, even though they haven't had a great financial time of late, you don't need that either. Have some ethics as much as you can. And that's why I advocate with consumer capitalism as well. I made that video about consumer capitalism. I pointed out my own hypocrisies on this stuff, but you just have to try. If you have these ethics and you believe them to your core, if you're a strong supporter of certain things like workers' rights or, you know, pro-BDS or whatever, you have to live that to the best of your ability. I feel like anyway. Because then what's the point? If you're just going to say all this stuff, I care about workers, and then I'm going to take a HelloFresh sponsorship, then what's the point? Your words mean nothing. And you don't actually care because when someone offers you a paycheck, you turn a blind eye to it, right? Anyway, that is a video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.